Hello.
Hello, Brian.
Got a couple people joining us now. Henry, how are you? I'm going to go ahead and email Martin and see if we can't catch him. Unfortunately,
Hello.
he's... Hello. Are you hearing us?
And hey Brian, I need to hire you to teach me some time management because you're all over the place and you're not stressed. What is going on?
Uh, it's. I think it's the duck on and paddling like mad under the water analogy.
Yeah.
Yesterday was very stressful. So yesterday I met with the National Guard about planning the Northern Exposure exercises for spring 22, and then at 5:30 we had a an after action review, and at 6 o'clock I had a meeting from another team in the XAPI cohort, and about 6:15, 6:20, my laptop gave out because I didn't have it plugged in the whole day. So I'm literally, just like now, I'm running the meeting, running recording, and doing all these things, and in the middle of the meeting it just dropped.
Well,
There
I
wasn't really
appreciate
much to do.
appreciate sapping into your energy. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'll try to be helpful. Hi, Chet. I don't think we've met. How are you?
I'm fine, Henry. How are you?
Doing well. It's Friday, which means you have 2 days to catch up before Monday.
Mm.
Need a vacation badly.
So I'm sending this out. I thought we had another. I thought Liz was going to join us as well.
So, just catching up. So I'm reading upstream in the chat. So this initiative is something that generates AUs that are of the CMI5 flavor. Is that correct? Or is it around the LMS
The
and
the
offer?
initiative, the catapult thing we were talking about earlier, or
The
the team.
catapult thing is a tester, right?
Right.
And this group is to do something that generates AUs. Is that
Right. So
right?
we actually want to build a working AU by the end of the semester, if you will. So we wrap
Okay.
up the week before Thanksgiving. So we're actually about halfway through, but most of the teams were fairly, I don't want to say lazy, but took our time forming and getting together. So we've only had a couple meetings. There hasn't really been a lot that's happened early in this one.
So
And
one in
go
today's
ahead, Aaron.
CMI5 call, they mentioned the code base that Art Winkerton had posted, and it might, I don't know where you guys are at. It might be interesting to take that and try run it through the test suite and clean it up as an accelerator. I don't know where you're at in the life cycle of.
Well, I think you sort of got some insight. We talked. Well, we had a meeting last week for this team. I actually had a conflict, so I'm not too keen on what happened there. I joined late, and there was one person in the meeting. I think that was Liz. And then of course yesterday they had the presentation with Ristici and the rest of the cohort, and now we're in the mode of, okay, what did they show us? What can we get it running? And so, earlier today, I'm on there asking questions. I feel like I shanghaied their meeting, but they were really cordial about it, so it was great. Good to see
They
you,
welcome
Liz.
that. Yeah.
Hi,
So
Brian. Hey, everyone.
I'm just trying to bring Henry up to speed, but the challenge was that I was late to the meeting last time. Can you sort of step in and talk through what happened, or
Sure. Basically, the first part of the meeting was us just trying to figure out what project to do for regarding CMI5. So again, it's still very much a flexible thing. So if you guys have any ideas that that are a little bit more fully baked, we're definitely happy to just try to help. At the moment, what we kind of decided was that we were going to try to essentially create. I know Brian is more familiar with Adobe Captivate, and I use Storyline um, for my job usually. So I think we're gonna essentially create two like very mini courses, maybe like 5-page courses that potentially send different XAPI statements, just depending on what you're doing, and then try to publish those. I know Storyline has the ability to publish in CMI5 format already, but I don't think Captivate does. So we're going to kind of see what those packages look like once they're published, and try to compare and contrast to see, again, like what we can do with that. And then essentially our goal is just to try to get something to pass the conformance test on in the conformance suite. And then once we do that, whether it be this cohort or the next one, the goal is to then maybe create like a non-LMS related, maybe like an app, like it could be maybe like a JavaScript game on on the web or something like that, and try to get that to pass through the conformance test as well. So first it would be a single AU, a single assignable unit, and then phase 2 would essentially be multi, like the multiple assignable units, and trying to see how that works, because ultimately the whole point of CMI5 is supposed to be that you're supposed to be able to integrate LMS related and remote things onto it. So it's kind of the perfect time to test it out and see what we can do, where we need help. And again, I also attended the working meeting earlier today, and yeah, I mean they're definitely very helpful and very willing to answer questions. So that was pretty awesome to see. Chetan, I think you were there too, right?
Yes.
And I may
was in a
maybe
couple of them.
miss saying your name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's correct. It's Chetan.
okay, Chetan. Good to
I
meet
think
you.
we can hear you. But yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell as far as we got last time. So again, we're happy to
So Henry,
get any other input.
we're really early on, is my point.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Feel
barely
like
our
you're
first
missing
meeting
much.
last time, so
Yeah.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So I'm my threads go back to the AICC and SCORM and XAPI and CMI5. So I do attend almost all the meetings on CMI5 from day one, because we have a small e-learning company, so we want to be on top of these things. We have several implementations of learning management system LMSs, so and we're actually called in to debug other people's systems. But yeah, so I was looking at the conformance suite, and do I have a misunderstanding? I thought it was primarily to validate your LMS in compliance of CMI5 standards. Is it also something that's going to beat up or test the AU to prove that the AU is
It's
compliant?
also going to test the AU.
Yeah, it's gonna test it.
And I don't know if it tests LMS. I thought I saw documentation on that, but we're still sort of gathering resources, and that's what I'm doing in the behind the scenes right now. So I'm going to take and dump a big glob of them in the chat. Here's what I've found, and so I need to sort of digest. I think most of these links are about Catapult, but there's also deep background links on to CMI5. So I'm just sort of gathering everything I can at this point, and as I mentioned last night, yesterday, when we saw what Chris and I'm blanking on the other person's name from Rusty. George, thank you. What Chris and George showed, it's like, oh, how do I set up Docker? How do I get? Because it seemed like it was very ready and almost low hanging fruit in a sense to grab that and go. But come to find out from the CMI5 meeting, no, you're really just getting sort of a recipe, and you need to work through the Docker instructions to be able to get the suite up and running. So it turns out there's more to it than I realized, and that's why I've got Docker desktop blank on my other screen. But the next steps are, okay, what do I need to do to get that repo working?
When I did see that Matt Cleaver volunteered to potentially host the test suite online, like on Heroku or one of those sites, so that we can all potentially access it from there and test directly, which I think makes sense because, again, it would ease up the, like, Matt Cleaver and Connor are both they're Torrance Learning software developers. They're our engineering team. So I think if they want to take on putting that up for us, I mean, it would actually be a pretty good help because, again, then if we want to recreate it on our desktop like Brian is doing, at least we'll have some sort of guidance that's readily available to help us whenever if we do get stuck. So I think, again, it's definitely a good thing to try to maybe download it on our desktop and see how that works, but it'll also be good to have it online and ready to go. And from what they were saying at the meeting today in the working group, that's kind of what they wanted. They were kind of saying that they would like to see it shared out online so that other people can basically help on it. So maybe if we do ask Matt and Connor to do that for us, other people in the cohort might end up looking at it and being interested and trying to actually run their stuff through it too. So it been, may definitely amp up a little bit of visibility towards the CMI5 piece in the future.
Yep. So it appears Martin's online with Slack. So I just sent him the meeting details. And since we mentioned Matthew, I also reached out to him. I don't know if his Friday afternoon schedule is going to support it, but we'll see what we can do to have them join.
Yes, we're reading the Catapult documentation there, and I see that it's addressing both of those, both a player suite for the content and for the LMS. So it'd be interesting if that is two corners of that app or completely isolated silos of functionality in there.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that they shared with me I'm still hunting for is a YouTube URL.
I might have that from this morning. Let's see. Here's a URL. Is this the one? Let me paste it in chat.
Chiton, I'm just seeing that you DM'd me earlier on Slack. I'm so sorry. I'm barely just now checking it.
Yeah, I think I wanted the recording, but you have already shared it, I think.
Yeah, they released it earlier today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was what, 10 days ago? September 29th, so that's good news.
Yeah, that video is actually pretty interesting. It actually covers like what is SCOM and what is XAPI and where CMI5 fits in.
Yeah, they did a great job on that video. I watched it last week on Friday.
So are you guys familiar with GitHub, Docker?
Yeah. I'm familiar with GitHub, but not with Docker. Like I know about it, but I haven't really tried using it quite yet.
Okay. Brian, have you tried?
Just since last night, I sort of was in the same boat. I had seen other things, and I've used other virtualization tools,
Mm-hmm.
um, but only since last night. And the first thing that I did was run into problems installing the Docker demo files and the first, I think they call it a container, Docker container. So I sort of stumbled through that and asked some questions in the chat and didn't really get it resolved. And that's why I joined in the meeting, the work group meeting this morning, thinking there was a link to a Docker container, and it turns out there's more detail than that. Were you able to get something, get it installed, or get it working?
Well, I have not tried it, but I can try it now, and I
Okay.
can share my screen. If
Yeah,
that's
we'd
okay.
we'd appreciate being able to ride along if you can try
That'd be
that.
awesome. Thank you.
So I'm going to share my screen now. You
I
have
set
to
up the
enable-
meeting. I think I need to allow you to do that.
Yeah.
All participants. I think you have permission now.
Yeah. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Go to the catapult repo of ADLNet. Okay, so few shortcuts I can tell you. For example, when you are navigating on GitHub, you actually see these are hyperlinks, right? These are your folders. And when you click, it can have subfolders and then subfolders, and it's very hard and tedious to figure out. A shortcut is if you are on a GitHub repo, you can press full stop, and it will convert it to a VS Code which is in browser. So it converts to like github.dev/adlnet/catapult, and this becomes like your editor with all the folder structures.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It helps you to navigate easily. You can even press Command P, Control P. I think Control P will work here. So you could see that this is a view project. That this is Vue is like a front-end framework similar to React or Angular. So it helps you in navigating. Now, the file which I'm interested in before I clone it is in the readme.md, which should have some instructions, and if there is a Docker file. So usually the Docker repos will have a Docker file which allows you to run it locally. Okay, so let's see. Yeah. So inside player, I can see that there is a .docker ignore, and then there is this Docker file, and then there is a Docker compose as well. So this is the main entry file. What it's going to do is it will create a virtual image with node version. So the node is a programming language, and they are using version 14, node 14. Then on that machine, after this, it will do a apt-get update, which will update the system, and then initialize. It will set an environment variable to production. It will set the working directory to user src app, and then it is going to copy these files. Now where these files are coming from? These files are here. You see it says entry point.sh. In this, if we are running a Docker file from this directory, this becomes the present working directory, and it has this entry point.sh. The next thing which they are copying is service. So this is the service folder which they are copying, and after that there is migrations, which is this folder, service migrations. and then it says npm I, so that is, it will install all the dependencies, probably because there is a package.json. So where is the package.json? Yeah, so this is the package.json, which will have these many dependencies. It will install. Then let me open the Docker file again. Yeah. After that, it installs nodemon globally. -g means it is going to install it globally. It sets the user to be named as node, and then it runs this ./entry_point.sh, which is running a shell file. And what this is going to do is it is going to run nodemon on this file index.js, and it is going to watch a file named as nextfile.js. Another watch is on lib, another watch is on plugins and index.js, and probably those are some files here. There is this next file, then it is looking for watching in the lib, then watching the plugins, and it is looking for index.js, this one. And for serving, like hosting the application and making it available, they are using Happy. Happy is a framework in Node.js, which can be seen if you go to npmjs.com, search for Happy. HTTP server framework. This is what they have imported, which is available here, and it is installed via package.json. So if we see the package.json, we have this. It should be available now, if it was not. Now there is Docker Compose. So Docker will create this. Now let me just type it here. Docker Compose is going to have a collection of different services which you can run. So they have this web service, there is a RDBMS service. There are two services which are required. Web service is going to have these many settings where you specify which image to be used. Dependencies on, like for example, the database should be up and running before this service can run. Volumes is like where is the persistent storage which will be mounted when you run this image, and what are the different environment variables which it needs, like content URL it needs API key, API secret, token secret, all of these variables. This is needed by web service. And the RDBMS, they are using a Mysql image. Now from where they get it? It is actually available on, if you go to hub.docker.com, it is like a box full of different images. For example, if I need MySQL, I can search for MySQL, and you can see that there are verified contents, and then there is community images. So I can create my own image and then publish it on Docker. For example, you see CKSdev is my username, and these are few of the images which I have published. And so let's look at the verified content, because it means these are actually coming from the official providers. If you want to see, they are using which one? They are using MySQL 8.0.17. So this is the specific version which is installed. And then these are the commands which it will run, like it will set the character set version, the Unicode IDs, and some default username password, and
So
it will mount this volume.
so MySQL is imported because it's part of the packages, or it's a prerequisite that you go locate that and install it.
It's a prerequisite to run this web service. So if you see the web service,
Mm-hmm.
it says depends on RDBMS. Now it will look for Docker Compose will look for RDBMS in the services. So if I collapse this, I can see this RDBMS key here. This is like a key and the value, the configuration of it. This RDBMS has this configuration. This service needs this image. It will need this volume, so it will mount this image on this volume settings. And these are the environment variables which are required by this particular service. Here in this case, it is setting the default database username to be Catapult, and the user password will be Quartz. And the database name, once it is created, it will be catapult_player. So you define all the settings in the compose file, and that's how this. It is a collection of services which you are combining together, like you are orchestrating. Firstly, this service should run, then this should run, then this should run. It's like a make file where you say this one depends on this one,
Right.
and, this one depends on so many other things. So it could be even a comma separated list. I think not comma separated. I think in this case it will be like a multi-line, because that's the syntax. So let's try to clone and then try it out. So you will simply just click on this code. You can download it if you don't want to pull again and again. I prefer to do a clone because so that I can take a pull. So git space clone. So that's how you get the data, and then it will create this folder Catapult. If I need a different name, I could specify the folder name here, and that will be the folder name. Now I can go inside there. So I'm just looking for different commands which I may have used earlier with the Docker. Probably it is Docker up. So you see it says build an image from a Docker file. So there is a concept of images. So Docker image, and the commands are actually, you say Docker specified by which particular category. Like I can list a container, I can do CRUD operations like list, I can create, I can delete them, I can stop them. So you specify the object you want to operate on. So I think the objects are images, container, volumes, network. All those are different commands which are available. So here it says Docker is not running, so I have to run the Docker service. Okay, so Docker, you see this icon now. Now the Docker engine is starting. I don't want to give a take an update for the time being. And here you can see, I mean, it also gives you a UI. I have not tried working with the UI. So there is a concept of containers, images, volumes, and the div values. These are the 4 objects I think which you can operate on. So let's try now. It takes some time for the initial launch. It takes some time to start the engine. Okay. So I can see I have so many images which are available, and they are taking a lot of space back. So much storage space is used by this. But yeah, let's now try to search. So if I say docker build space dot, it will actually look for the Docker file in the current working directory or present working directory. So I have a Docker file here. So I can run docker build dot. So here what it is doing is I read this version, right? 14.17.3. So it is creating this image. Now why I am creating this first? Probably because the Docker Compose will have a dependency on this image. So it says the image it needs is catapult layer. The service actually needs this image to be available. Now if we look at the Docker file, it should have the name somewhere. There is no way to specify the name. Let's see. Image will be created, but I don't see how it will get the name, because this particular Docker Compose is looking for this image to be available. Probably they may have mentioned it in the reader. Okay, so it says after cloning the repo, create a .env file in the player directory. This file needs to include following information for the following: how to access the LRS from inside the containers, the host port where the service can be accessed. So there is a dependency on LRS. The host port where the service can be accessed. So an image is created. Here you see it is, there are no errors, and it says writing image, and the image show 256 is this ID. Now we can docker image ls, and the first 6 or first 12 or 13 characters are part of this. So if you see this 52E608B, 52E608B, it does not have a name currently. You see?
Yes.
Name and tag are none, and it is created like 53 seconds ago. and the image size is 994 MB. So it has got an image ID. Probably there should be a way to set a name on the command line for this way, and for this I think I can use this UI tool. It should have an easier way to rename. Created. Images. Yeah. So I have an option here. Edit. I don't see an option to edit this, although I can run it. So this image I have to delete. This remove. I will tell you why, because I have not set the environment variables before running it. So I need to create a .env file first in my local now. So I can keep this as default values, but for these, I think I can use sandbox from SoundCloud for the XAPI credentials.
I think we're gonna get kicked out of the meeting in like 2 minutes, so we can just rejoin the same link.
Yeah, actually, good point. Is this a good place to pause and jump out of the meeting and then jump back in? Let me paste the details. If you don't have Slack up, I'll paste the meeting's details in there.
I think same links can be joined again.
Yes.
Yeah, I
If you
think
just,
so.
Yeah, you just have to end meeting for all.
Yep. Like I said, it's in the Slack. I'll put it in the chat really quick. There's a link in the chat, 3 dots. You click that and go down to Save Chat. And once we stop the meeting, it will open a folder with that in it in case you need it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop.
Yeah.
Everybody jump back in. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Welcome back. Yeah, since I did this ad hoc, I just set it up in their free Zoom rather than fighting somewhere else.
If I can.
Yep.
This is super awesome, Chet. This is very knowledgeable and helpful.
Yes.
It's kind of a privilege to be walked through this.
Yeah.
It is really helpful.
I wish it sticks.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I am
Thank
doing
you.
a recording. I didn't mention it earlier, but I've been recording, and I will post that once we get through this. So,
Oh, that'll be good. Yeah.
I just turned the sharing
you.
back on. Shaitan, if you want to jump back in.
Yeah.
We're all grateful for you to walk us through this.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much.
Incredibly
I'll
valuable.
definitely try to install Docker this weekend. So it is nice to be able to just know that it's gonna be there.
I literally was in the process, so I have it sitting next to me in another window, and I'm like, can I try and keep up? No, I'm not even going to do that. I just want to focus and see what he's showing.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Trying to absorb.
I'm going to stop my video and reduce some of the bandwidth here.
You can see my screen now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We see API Learning Record Store in Storm Cloud.
Yeah. So because it needs, these credentials are required. So I'm going to use Sandbox. And my error is username password.
So far, I've only used the Veracity LRS. And I have an account to Storm Cloud for work, but I haven't actually tried to set up an LRS on there. So I'll definitely try that out.
Yeah, it is same. Like there is not much difference. They have to follow the same interface. Like you need to have an endpoint which can accept the statements, and it need to have a username and password.
So the Docker container is proxying the AU, and it needs a live LRS endpoint for it to work through.
Yes.
To send the statements to and retrieve them.
Right. Because here, if you see in the README file, they have an LRS endpoint, which is currently internal, and they have not shared it. Probably it was some of their internal LRS, which is not part of this GitHub repo. So once this is done, it now says docker compose up build -t. Okay, so just this command after that. Should do that. So now it is pulling readiness. Now it says no matching manifest for in the manifest list entries. Probably because I want Apple M1 chips. But let's see. Yeah. It is an emulation. Platform issue. So I can update the Docker compose, and in the RDP section we should add this, and it has to be aligned like this, properly formatted. That should do the trick.
Stack Overflow for the win.
Wonderful resource.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is created now and it should be up and running as well. So let's try now. So the port number which I have specified in the EMV 63398. Okay. Let's see if the Docker services is up and running. This is the one. It is not running. Can start it now. Now it says it is running on port 63398. Unit seems to have some issue. Let's see. Yeah, unit is failing to start. So I have this catapult player, it is running and it is available on port 3398. So this is like, you are redirecting from the local service to outside. So 3398 should have some output. No. Service is So I'm trying to do now and get inside that container by specifying the container ID. So you see now I am inside directly USR SRC app, and I can see all the code which is part of that image now for containers. Probably it is not running because MySQL is not getting started. You see here, MySQL it exited 34 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Because I may have a service running locally. I don't know why it's failing. So let's try to run some of the commands which they are using to run it. So this command, if I try to run it manually, what happens? Yeah, so you see, waiting for ID Windows 3306. ID Windows is not found. And that's why it is failing. So the problem is with the DB. DB connection is not working. It could be because of this. We can try with a different version of Mysql. Try this image.
Nice meeting you, Henry.
This is great.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have exited now. Now you can delete that image first.
Yep.
But I delete that container because I need to build it again. So I have stopped and then delete. Standard. Now I can run the command to docker compose.
So Henry, part of my follow-up plan is to share this video back out, but I also realize I want to share it with folks from Rusticy and see if George or Chris have any changes that they want to make to the process.
Awesome. And what I like to do is like work through it in a Google Doc as I follow these steps, so I can share that.
That'd be great.
And I'm on a Windows platform, so maybe that can help somebody else too.
That's a good idea. I'll try to remember to keep notes as well if I get stuck when I'm trying to do it.
Yeah, did we ask that, Liz? Are you on Windows or Mac?
I'm on Windows.
Okay. I'm a Mac user, so that might affect our AUs as well, but we'll see. Hopefully not.
Shouldn't.
It's good to have all kinds of test cases, though.
Exactly.
It's perfect.
Although in Windows the upper lowercase doesn't trip us up, but we deploy it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
So if I check all the containers, I can see now MySQL, at least it has not stopped. It is starting. So let's run it again.
Yeah.
It still says it's starting. Then on 3398,
It's a good sign.
access. $63398. Still starting. And says it's unhealthy. So there is still some issue with the MySQL server setup. Should have MySQL. We're trying already. It is unhealthy, it's not working. MySQL is not working on M1.
Thank you so much. I wish I could stay.
Yep.
Have a nice
Thanks,
weekend.
Henry. Glad you could join
Bye, you
us.
too. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Now, let's see. This database is also exited. The DB is not running. So I think it probably is an issue specific to my Apple M1 chip. So yeah, I think I will try to figure out how to run this DBMS, and then we'll be able to proceed. I think I will stop the sharing now.
So I'm sorry. What was your conclusion?
So the conclusion is I have this latest M1 chipset, which is kind of a blocker to run.
Oh, okay. You have the M1. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
So ideally, these images should work on Intel-based chipset, without any issues. But I need to figure out a command which can run on my system.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate you attempting to tackle it and jumping in like you did.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was seeing that that on the RootsDC website they have I posted the link on chat that says like submit a request for support. So maybe because I don't have a direct email for any of the people there, so that would be nice. I think the only one I saw that's included actually in the GitHub repo is Brian.Miller at roostdcsoftware.com. But I'm not sure who Brian Miller is. It seems like he may be like the chief architect of the code. It says author. but again, I'm not sure if he's the person to contact or if they have another person that they offload questions to.
So,
But
I just
again,
posted the
posted the link. Oh, nice.
address for Chris. He's one of the presenters. I think he's C-suite. I think he's COO or CEO.
Oh, nice.
And then George was one of the presenters. I didn't have his. So I had actually sent that URL as Henry was leaving. I had actually sent that URL to Chris and to Martin again, thinking we were going to be moving forward into the next hour. But obviously the M1 thing has sort of blocked that. But I do appreciate you being able to take us through as far as you did. And I think it'll be very helpful, at least in my efforts to try and get started.
Me
and
too.
I think the Windows side will have some differences, but I think Liz and Henry might be able to make some progress with it. Sorry, I didn't realize my camera was off.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that. It'll definitely help me at least get an idea of what I'm supposed to be seeing more or less. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yes, and I do appreciate.
I haven't used the command line in a little bit, in a couple months. So
yeah,
it's always like
I appreciate you being able to deconstruct things and say, well, if you look at this here, here's a whole list of Docker containers, and that says, well, oh, it's pulling one of them from there, and now I make the connection. And the challenges in their documentation, they're not elaborating at all. So
they usually expect that you know Docker.
Yeah. It is part of the challenge.
I haven't tried. I know about Docker, but I have never tried installing it. I only usually stick to front end development, so I've never really had to use Docker.
Yeah. All right. Well, any closing comments or questions? I think we're about ready to wrap up then.
Yeah, so I think I have attended the CMI5 meetings, a couple of them, and what I understood is they have built up a tool set, like a toolkit which can be used by both LMS developers as well as content developers. So content developers can guarantee that the content which they have created, whether it is CMI5 compliant or not. And in the same way, the LMS developers, the people who are developing LMS, they can also test it using that Catapult kit, and then ensure that whether the necessary XAPI statements are being sent and communicating the right information or not. Assignable unit is just one part of it, of the entire CMI5 spec.
Yeah, I'm really excited to actually get playing with the actual the test suite, because I don't have any experience with CMI5 at all. Like I only started learning about XAPI a couple months ago, and I definitely think it's definitely the way of the future for sure. So it's nice to just get in now and try to see what's possible. And again, it was perfect timing with the launch of the Catapult player to be able to actually test things out. So that'll be really nice, and I'm really looking forward to trying to install Docker and seeing what where the hiccups are and what I need help with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So Liz, what's your email?
It's lizbarondev@gmail.com. Oh, I guess I can just type it in, right?
Yeah, actually, and Shatan, you want to give me yours and I'll CC you on this? Thank you. That was Baron Dev. Okay. That's weird. So I figured since I'm sending the email out, I may as well let you see the emails, and if they respond to us, we'll have some idea. All right. Well, thank you both.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Chatan.
We were able
Thank
to
you.
pull together a quick
Have a nice-
meeting. Martin unfortunately did email that he had a conflict. That's why he didn't set it up. But we were able to jump in and make some progress. So
Yeah. Thanks for setting it
I
up.
appreciate it. Yep.
That was nice. Yeah. Now I have homework for the weekend.
Yeah. Something to try. All right. Talk to you
Yeah.
later. Yep.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you
Bye.
later. Bye.